We're talking with Jay. Jay, you're with Allworth Money Matters.
Hey, fellas. How are you today?
Fantastic. It's a good day.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. I enjoy the show a lot. I'm sitting here with a big grin on my face listening to your banter about kids sharing Netflix accounts with you, and man, can I relate.
What time do they get their own phone plan?
Well, it's fun. So there's that too, right?
That's my fault. That's on me.
Well, so it's funny because we have two children. In one case, the older child came to us and said, "Hey, I'm going to start paying for my, share of the phone plan." We of course said, "Hey, that's fine. Just do an auto deposit monthly or Venmo us or whatever you want to do." And with the younger one, we haven't had that conversation, but we kind of we pay for her cell phone in exchange for the fact that she watches the dog when we go on vacation. She does some other stuff. And this kind of factors into my question because neither of these kids really, they don't want overt compensation, if you will.
Okay.
They don't. And so the nature of and let's put that on a parking lot for a second, because the nature of my question is really going back to, I think it's Pat who likes to say, better from a warm heart than a cold hand.
That's actually, that was a client that said that to me about 3 years ago, and he started a gifting program with his children. He died 6 weeks ago. He died 6 weeks ago at the dinner table with his wife. He died.
Oh my.
And it's interesting. So we managed the second.
I assume he was older, like
he was struggling with some health. Both he and his wife were struggling with some health issues. But anyway, and fortunately, we managed the kids' assets too already. So it's making the transition easier. So anyway, but that's correct. So what's your question for us?
Well, so that phrase really stuck with me, and I think there's a lot of certainly sort of intrinsic value to it and emotional merit. But when I started to consider our own situation and the fact that our kids are still young enough in their careers that they could probably use a few extra bucks here and there, and my wife and I both feel we'd love the joy of seeing them, maybe take an extra vacation or whatever they want to do with the money. But then the practical me kicked in and said, well, wait a minute. If we give them each, pick a number out of our taxable account, which may or may not eventually hit the lifetime exclusion limit.
Okay.
And
you're thinking about it? Here. You're thinking about it the right way. Yes, you're thinking about it the right way.
And that's the question, because let's presume for a moment that our asset base grows, but it doesn't hit the eventual lifetime exclusion limit. There's an argument, particularly with kids who they're not coming to us for money. And in fact, when we try to give them money, they're a little sheepish about taking it. Okay. I think they like their independence. They don't need mom. They don't feel like they want to need mom and dad. And I can fully respect that. I really appreciate that. That's how they've turned out. On the other hand, it'd kind of be fun to give them some money and, let them go do something that they wouldn't ordinarily do otherwise.
What would the source of the money be? Would they be a cash, shares?
No, we'd give them appreciated shares. So, we got some securities that are 5X what we paid for them. And my idea is, particularly with the younger one who doesn't earn as much money yet, her cap gains rate is going to be a lot less than ours. So, there's an argument that says, hey, before you cash those securities out, Jay, to pay for your lifestyle, why don't you give them to the kids and, they can cash them out and maybe be in the 10% cap gains or 0% cap gains bracket versus where you'd be, which
That's
is
correct.
20 plus.
Correct.
And, but, the scenario that I keep painting in my mind is, okay, what if we give them $10,000 and I die the next day? They're going to pay cap gains on that 10K, whereas if they'd waited 24 hours, or if I'd waited 24 hours, they'd have gotten a step up in basis and avoided the cap gains exposure.
That's correct. That's how.
So if you're planning on giving them assets that they're not going to spend, then that's the question. You might be better off just holding those securities and giving them cash.
How old are you?
I am 62.
All right, you're still pretty young.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
and you're married, correct?
I'm married, and my wife is 58.
Okay, so the odds are it's 30 years before there's.
So, so that's what you described as one way. But the other way to look at it is you just said that you had an asset that was 5x what you paid for it. Is it grossly overweighted in your portfolio as a percentage of your holdings?
It is not.
Okay.
It's and I rebalance twice a year.
It sounds like your big question here is, how much do we help the kids out financially,
That's exactly right.
if any, and do we do some now, or do we wait till later, or wait till we die? Those are not easy questions to answer always.
They're not, and particularly when we start to have the conversation with them, and we haven't had that much. I mean, we're talking about people in their early to mid 20s. Okay, so we have not had an estate conversation with them. Won't for several years because there doesn't appear to be an impending need. But for example, the older child and her husband would like to buy a larger home. They own a house. They've since decided, hey, this is getting a little small. We'd like to buy a larger home. We stepped forward and said, guys, if you need help, let us know.
Perfect.
We're staying out of it. But if you need help, let us know.
Perfect.
Okay. I can almost lay money that they would rather eat glass than ask for financial assistance from us.
You should be super proud. You should be happy.
We are, but it doesn't make it easy to give to them, okay? So the way we end up gifting to them is, okay, so we're hosting Thanksgiving this year. We're taking everybody out Saturday night for a nice dinner, and I've already told them, like, listen, this is, and I've used that phrase, this is from a warm heart rather than a cold hand. And they don't debate on who's picking up the dinner check. I watch their dogs for no charge. So we gift to them in non-economic and economic ways. We're all going to the city we all lived in for several years.
To pay you're paying for vacation.
We're picking up the Airbnb, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're doing it in a more subtle
And is
way.
your net worth much larger than you need for your current lifestyle?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to compound on itself.
I know it is.
So you're gonna give it all either while you're alive or your death. You can't take a dime with you, right? So
right.
And
but I've got a resistant recipient.
That's right. But I wouldn't I wouldn't worry if you don't have an impending estate tax problem.
Mm-hmm.
I would just defer anything. Okay. I'd defer it all. And then when I went to do it, I would actually sit down with the children. I did this. I sat down with the kids and I walked them through the reasoning. As I told them, look, I would help you if I could. I wouldn't gift much more if estate taxes weren't driving this decision.
Yeah, right.
Right? I mean, if the reality is, they've got pride. I don't know how I would feel if my dad actually had offered me money. I would have been really surprised.
So, I had a friend, and I've kind of co-opted this. He says he matches his kids' efforts. I'm going to match their effort. And so, like my oldest daughter, she graduated with grad school right in the lockdowns. She really wanted to get her own business, had some ideas. I said, look, I'll keep covering your rent. I'm thinking as long as she keeps working at it, I'll keep covering, which I did for a couple of years. And then she's got a nice business now for herself, and she's self-supportive. And then I helped her with a pretty substantial down payment on her house. Now she's one that will ask for a dime every time she sees me. She asks for money, has no problem taking money from me. But it doesn't hinder her personal development and her desire to grow and to serve. It hasn't hindered that at all. And if I thought that my helping her with her rent would cause her to go screw around more, then I wouldn't give her a dime.
Yeah,
like you got to go figure this out.
Because you've seen it with many clients where they actually they've ruined the child's life by giving the child assets.
Right.
Absolutely.
I mean, they've ruined it. You don't have that problem. So I wouldn't borrow trouble. If you don't have an impending estate tax problem, don't do anything, or start small. Just gift them $5,000 in cash. That's easy. Each year, and tell them, look, this is because of an estate
That's not
tax.
a bad idea, Pat. Start out with just some smaller amount.
Yeah,
like maybe every January or something.
And don't make it complicated. Don't do it with stock. Just do it in cash, and then the next year,
see what happens.
For the first couple of years, I got
maybe they'll come back and say we don't want it, and then okay, well.
The first couple of years, I got copies of my kids' statements when I would give them money. I wanted to see if they were spending it or not.
I wouldn't give a dime to my 18-year-old.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
It's a great problem to have, by the way.
Well, and you know what? And I know that. And believe me, we're very appreciative of our blessings. There's not a day that goes by we don't give heavy thanks for that. But, it does create its own set of considerations. That's all. And
for sure. You have to steward these assets.
That's right. and the, as I said, I mean, we're not at the point now where we're going to bump up against the lifetime exclusion, but, this thing, meaning our portfolio could.
You'll get there.
I use the term with my wife, it could run away from us, meaning it snowballs. And now, we have a real problem, and we're now beyond the point where annual gifting is we'd have to be gifting to kids and nephews and nieces, all of which we would do.
But Jay,
yeah.
let's just say in the next presidential election cycle, right? The next president that
the pendulum swings back
the other direction, then it would drive my decision making at that point in time. Which is,
because the estate exemption is very high right now relative to history.
Right. Yes. And because there's a gap between elections and when they actually take office, it allows you to actually make decisions based upon what you believe is going to take place in the future. So this last election cycle, we were telling our clients, we don't know whether you should gift or not, but a large part would be driven by what we thought
in November. The November election.
And so we lined it up so that we could pull the trigger in the November election, whether they should begin this gifting program or using up part of their exemption based upon. And when it became clear that the Republicans took it, you're like, man, there's no hurry now, right? But that could change. Right. And so whatever decision you make today, prepare to change that decision in the future based upon the environment.
And I just want to throw one. It's unlimited what you can give to nonprofits. So whether you do that now or at your death, you can have a $100 million estate. And if it all goes to nonprofits, you don't have an estate tax.
I assume you have a donor advised fund for
we do.
charity.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a DAF. And in fact, I was just kind of putting pencil to paper last night, determining what year end,
how much you're going to contribute
to it. Yeah, and so basically, and the way our asset base is, I mean, you guys would love the tax diversification. We got about just shy of $3 million in Roths. We have about 4.5 in taxable with a 2.6 basis, and about 1.6 in a traditional IRA. And the way we've earmarked that traditional IRA is that the one recipient of it. It happens to be my IRA. We've already fully converted my wife's IRAs. But when I pass, that IRA is going to our donor advised fund, which will then disperse it.
Beautiful.
So basically, if you do the math, we're paying no tax at death.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know what? One thing I'd recommend on that. I would, and all this I've done for myself. I have my wife primary and my donor advised fund contingent. My wife can always just claim that and say, I just send it off to the donor advised fund. It just gives more flexibility
in the estate planning.
In the estate planning, in case something strange happens to the other assets.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
No,
right?
I spoke too quickly, Scott. That's exactly.
Okay.
Forgive me.
Okay.
You're right. She is
Okay.
primary.
So
the
Perfect.
DAF is secondary.
Yes, and she
That's
she can disclaim if she wants to, if
Jay-
she doesn't think she
Jay,
can.
one of the things that you might suggest to your children is that let them know about how the donor advised fund works, and then allow them X amount of dollars to actually direct to charity.
Have you
out
done
of
that?
your I've tried.
I've tried to. I give up.
I'm just going to see if Jay can make it work.
Okay.
No, I appreciate the effort. Yeah, believe me, I started to. Well, and here's, I please don't let me abuse your time, you guys. Okay?
No, I find this all fascinating.
Well, so do I, and I could do this all day, but I won't. But it's funny. I mentioned our daughters and son-in-law's dogs, both of which are rescues. They're wonderful dogs, and she has a heart the size of Manhattan. And she called me one day and said, "Hey, Dad, you know that contribution you made to the shelter where we got the dogs in honor of my birthday?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "How did you do that? Because I just, I sit down every month and we're writing out checks to the charities that we give to, and that's one of them. And it just looked like you made it so easy." And
Oh, good.
I raised the right. So the beauty was she came to me, right?
So how old? Wait,
And-
here's what I'm like. We should be calling you. How old's your daughter?
26.
26, married, and her husband already have this charity plan where they, on a monthly basis, figure out which organizations they want to support. Is that what I just heard? Wow.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
good.
That's
Hey,
pretty
man,
cool.
All right. Well,
That's pretty cool. Anyway, appreciate the call,
appreciate
Jay.
it, Carl. Keep it up.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully that
thank you,
helps some.
fellas.
Yeah.
Thanks. You said rescue. I was years ago. I was at a soccer game with my kids, and I'm just watching the game, and this guy walks by with this little dog, and it bites me on the leg. Fortunately, I had jeans on, and it bit me on the leg, and I'm like, "What the heck?" And the guy says, "It's a rescue dog." And I said, "So that makes it okay."
Oh, it's a rescue dog.
It's a rescue
Sorry
dog.
about your calf.
I said, "It still bit me. I don't care
And
where."
you're the rightful owner of it.
Yeah, you had
You
it on
rescued
a
it. You took that
leash.
responsibility, not me.
Yeah, fortunately there was no damage. but
that's
I
kinda
just
funny.
love the fact that he just went to. So now anything that happens, I just say, it was a rescue.